On the 21st of July 2013, a 16-year-old girl named Golly Queen went to party with a friend in Irene area of Montego Bay. Golly Queen looked very pretty that night, all dressed up, fully made up, and when she stepped into the party, she caught the attention of all the guys there. Even two of her friends, one of them named Chloe and the other one named Keke, were also impressed by her beauty and how peculiar she stood out. And so the party began. Golly Queen had so much fun. She was dancing and everybody wanted to dance with her. Guys were asking her out. People were asking for her phone number. She was getting the attention that obviously she desired. However, this attention would not last long because Queen eventually saw an old friend from a former life whom she knew from church. Queen met this girl and we'll call her Kate for some reason. When Queen met Kate, Queen was like, "Do you know me?" And Kate was like, "I don't know you. You look familiar, but I can't place your face. But I feel like I've seen you somewhere." And then Queen revealed her true identity to Kate. And this changed everything in the club. Immediately, Kate went around to tell the guys who Queen really was. And since this was an all-night party into the next morning on the 22nd of July on a Monday, in the early hours, the guys at the club soon learned of Queen's identity and they confronted her, and eventually she was attacked, beaten, shot, stabbed multiple times, and eventually killed. What was this big secret that Golly Queen told her friend Kate that turned her night around to the point she had to be murdered by the same group of guys who danced with her and who asked for her phone number? It turned out that Golly Queen was a transgender, was a guy. And that was where Kate knew him from. And in the party there, he was just a boy dressed up in female clothing, makeup, and aesthetic to pass for a woman. And not many of the guys knew. His identity was revealed to be 16-year-old Dwayne Jones. And his story for a lot of people would be a very sad one. So it is said that Dwayne Jones grew up in the ghetto of Montego Bay, Jamaica. Growing up as a little child, he was bullied enough because he was very effeminate. His parents, his neighbors, classmates, many people poked fun at him because of how extremely girly his nature was. And it got so bad that at the age of 14, his father threw him out of the house and also told neighbors to chase him away if they saw him around the area. And that was how Dwayne Jones at 14 became homeless and helpless. It was said he started to sleep in the streets, in the bushes, by the beachside, and eventually he met two of his friends who were also transgendered and also members of the community in Jamaica there, Keke and Chloe. And he joined them to live in an uncompleted building where they tried to survive as a marginalized group of the society. And it was in that neighborhood, in that ghetto, that he got the name Golly Queen. Pretty much ghetto queen for some, semantics as others would put it. Because he went from the ghetto where he lived with his parents to another group of ghetto where he lived with other homeless people and people who had been, kicked away from their homes or who probably did not have anyone or anywhere to lay their heads. So by the age of 15, 16, while living in the uncompleted building with his fellow homeless people, he started living life and becoming his true self and honing his true identity. But it's not clear what he identified as. For a lot of people, he was a guy who only just behaved like a girl. It wasn't stated if he was a trans trying to transition into a woman, or if he was just a boy who was a James Brown or a Bobrisky. It's not very clear because he was most likely very young at the time. People who knew him at the time described him to be really fun, entertaining, and was a very good dancer who won a lot of dance competition around his ghetto gully area at the time. And I guess maybe that's why they called him the Gully Queen. Those close to him said he wanted to be a teacher and also wanted to work in the tourism industry in Montego Bay in Jamaica there. Those were his dreams. Unfortunately for him, on the 22nd of July 2013, 16-year-old Dwayne Jones' dream would come to a crash. The previous day on the 21st, it was said he went to a party they called NSC Sunday at a bar, Irene, Montego Bay, with his two friends, Keke and Chloe. They got to the party very early on, around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. thereabouts. And immediately when they got there, they all passed as girls. Because obviously the community, the trans community in Jamaica was still frowned upon. It wasn't accepted. So they all had to pass fully as girls completely. And just like every other person in the party, they wanted to let loose, have a good time, drink, dance, and have fun. And that was what Dwayne Jones did. He just let loose and had fun. But unfortunately for him, He looked pretty and he passed very well as a girl, and he got many guys' attention who approached him to dance with him, buy him drinks, ask for his number, and just pretty much chase him like they would chase an actual girl. But they did not know who he was. They did not know he was a transgender. They did not know he was a man dressed in woman's clothing. Some other sources said it was Dwayne's aim coming to the party to, come out as a transgender to people who knew him. He was trying to be more open with himself. But this would prove to be a fatal mistake when he eventually meets Kate, an old friend he knew from his previous place from church. And when Dwayne Johnson opened up to Kate, whom he could confide in, telling this girl that, hey, hi, it's me. I know I look like a girl, but this is just me coming out. And I think that was what his intentions were when he was opening up to Kate to tell her that he was Dwayne Johnson and not an actual girl. And Kate maybe took it lightly. However, Kate went on to tell her friends. And it's not clear how she passed it as. And that was how words got around the club that the girl that most of these guys have been chasing, dancing with, rocking, maybe attempting to kiss, even maybe kissing, was a guy. And this offended and irritated a lot of them. And immediately, Dwayne Jones was confronted outside of the club. Maybe if he had kept his mouth shut and just enjoyed the night without telling anybody who he was, he may have gotten out of this alive. But I guess one of his biggest mistake was opening up to somebody he thought he could trust. He didn't tell the guys he danced with. He just danced with them. But opening up to a female friend was maybe not the right choice. But it turned out that there were other choices that Dwayne made that were not very helpful to his situation, because when he was confronted outside of the club, many of the guys came on this time. They started trying to get him to take off the wig, get off the dress. They really wanted to be sure for themselves. And in this process, it escalated into questioning, to harassment, to him getting physically abused. And all the while, Dwayne felt the need to keep telling these people who were surrounding him that he's female, he's female. I don't know if that was his way of trying to get out of this, but it wasn't working. Another account claimed that his friend, Chloe, who was possibly an actual transgender, tried to get Dwayne to leave, tried to ask him, let's leave, let's go, it's escalating. But at the time, it had not gone to a point where it was fully escalated. So maybe Dwayne thought he could convince this crowd of people with his words. So he refused to follow Chloe home, and they had to leave him because now they too are at risk of them being exposed. Dwayne stayed back to try to explain to these people that this is him being a trans, this is him, he was trying to explain his identity to them, but they did not see it that way. To them, he was a fraud who came to deceive a lot of guys, because he did dance with a lot of guys. It's not clear if he also made out with some of them, but many of them believed he was a girl, so they felt cheated, as some would put it, or maybe deceived and fooled. In the process of trying to talk to the crowd, somebody took off his wig, took off his strap of bra, and the foam or whatever, package he had put in his chest to pass as a woman got exposed, and it was at this point he tried to run. But it was too late because his friends had all gone. And now he had to deal with these angry boys in the club all by himself. Sources also said while he was being attacked, his friends Chloe and Keke were also being attempted to be sexually, assaulted. But they were able to get to a church to hide while Dwayne was lynched pretty much multiple times by a lot of people with different things. Some sources said he was also shot. Some sources claimed they used a car to run over him multiple times, that he was unconscious and nearly lifeless. And by the time around 5 a.m., when the police arrived at the scene, he had already lost a lot of blood and had died from the whole situation. His body was taken by the police, and his family, his mom and dad who threw him out of the house, were contacted and informed of the death of their son, but they refused to claim his body because they had pretty much disowned him. So I guess the state had to bury him, or maybe his friends Chloe and Keke did cover the burial. The death of Dwayne caused a lot of controversy in Jamaica at the time, as well as internationally. Many officials condemned the attack, while some people who were pretty much phobic to his nature blamed him for the attack. The victim blamed him, saying that he never should have dressed as a woman to a party where it was perceived to be a heterosexual straight party. And also, even if he was going to be a guy dressed as a woman, he never should have allowed himself dance with a group of boys who were not sure of his identity. These were some people's arguments. However, a large number of people were still vocal on the part that regardless of whatever he did or did not do, it did not give anyone the right to take his life, hurt him, or harm him. Because him being dressing the way he did not kill anybody. So there was no reason why he had to be killed. Those were most people's arguments when it came to the case of Dwayne Jones. Since his death gained international recognition, the Jamaican officials claimed to be investigating the case. 14 people were arrested, they gave their statement, and it did look like justice was going to be served for Dwayne Jones. However, that did not happen. Nobody was eventually held accountable for his death. Even the home where his friends lived, where Chloe and Keke lived, was attacked and set on fire because people found out where they lived and found out about their lifestyle, and they also became a lot more homeless. Police could not help them. Later that year, a charity organization named Dwayne's House was set up in Dwayne Jones' memory to help marginalized members of the community who are homeless and to give them shelter and provide them a place to live. 11 years later, Dwayne Jones' murder still remains unsolved, and his killers will most likely never be found and held accountable.